Thank you for joining us today for Armchair Historians. I'm your host, Anne-Marie Cannon. Armchair Historians is a Belgian Rabbit production. Stay up to date with us through Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Wherever you listen to your podcast, that is where you'll find us. You can also find us at armchairhistorians.com. Also, won't you consider becoming a patron of the show? In an effort to keep Armchair Historians commercial-free, I have decided to work with Patreon. Now, if you mosey on over to www.patreon.com/armchairhistorians, that's historians with an S, you can find out more about supporting the show and about exclusive patron content that you will have access to. You can chip in anywhere from $1 to $15 a month or just make a one-time donation. You will be helping me to keep the lights on. And if you can't make a donation, that's totally cool. I just hope you will continue to listen to our free podcast. I recently spoke to YouTube celebrity Julian McDonnell. He's the host of Joolz Guides. That's JOOLZ Guides. For more information, go to joolzguides.com. Julian has over 140,000 followers on his YouTube channel. This is part 2 of that interview. If you haven't done so already, I highly suggest you go back and listen to part 1. Julian McDonnell, welcome, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me on your show and for not being a crazy person. I get a few crazy people contacting me,
Well, that's the thing. When you put yourself out there like that, that is definitely a considerate. My dad was a cop, so I'm very suspicious by nature.
And yeah. I mean, I can't claim to be 100% sane myself, so.
In part 1 of the interview, we talked a lot about London and history and Julian's favorite royal, King Charles II. In part 2, we touch upon several topics, including 2 questions that I've been dying to ask him. What you said before about you don't talk about things that you're not interested in, and that's apparent. It's your enthusiasm and the humor, all that comes across in what you do.
Well, yeah, I also edit out anything that's, even and I edit out. I want it to be an interesting film, just something to keep your attention and to watch it. Anyway, I want it to be interesting, and they take a lot of time to make. I mean, it looks like they're just sort of rattled out, but they take ages.
How long does it take? How long does it take for you to do the editing, to do the video?
It all depends on the type of video. I mean, even that one that I did this weekend, which actually had a lot of old videos in it, so I just chucked in old clips. Mm-hmm. Even that one took.
I loved the narration, by the way. The narration was brilliant.
Yeah, well, you see that, for example, a pastiche of the old Pathé newsreel footage. Mm-hmm. That takes, I had to get Tom Carradine to do some Rule Britannia on the piano.
Rule Britannia is relaxing piano music. I had to look it up on Google. For those of you familiar with Joolz Guides, you may recognize the name Tom Carradine. He frequently appears on the soundtrack. Tom is a pianist and musical director specializing in music from the first half of the 20th century, particularly the grand age of the British dance bands in the 1920s and 1930s. I recommend you look him up. You can find him on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and at Carradine's Cockney Singalong. That's one word, Carradine's Cockney Singalong.co.uk. I'll put his information in the episode notes.
And he sent it to me, and then I put that, and then I have to add some effects onto that, and I have to add effects on. I have to write a script as well that sounds kind of. So that means researching old wartime newsreel footage to try and find the right vocabulary for these sorts of things.
And that was your voice?
And then just do the voice, as well, and add some,
So that was all you?
Yes, it's me. You just talk like that and say, well, it's London in lockdown and the Queen is not at home today, and and you just have to do that clipped kind of old English accent, and then you can throw on some sort of radio effect from the 1940s, and then but then you have to add color to it, then you have to shrink the size of it to add some effects, and in addition to that, I had to go down there a couple of times. I mean, I had to cycle into town twice and walk through all along the river. So it was 2 days worth of filming in addition to all the other ones I had, plus then about 3 days all day editing, because I haven't got anything else to do at the moment. So that one was 3 days, but most of it had been done already. Normally they take like about a week or so editing. It take a long time, and then you've got to research them as well. I mean, I don't know all this stuff off by heart. I do have to find stuff out.
It sure does look like all this stuff you just know. It's like in there in your head.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the same with anyone who makes a TV program. I'm sure that they don't know absolutely everything. They'll forget it. I retain a lot of it, but I'm not that brainy.
Can I ask you a couple non-related questions?
Okay. I may decline. I might take the fifth.
That's fine. I don't think anyways, they're not too controversial questions.
Okay.
So do you still have a peddler's license?
A peddler's certificate from a license. It's expired, actually, my peddler's certificate, because I no longer sell the kite.
Julian talks about having a peddler's certificate in previous Juolz Guides episodes, and about 9 years ago, Julian produced a documentary called My Evil Trade, A Peddler's Life, which details some of the issues faced by peddlers in England. I was just curious to see if he kept up his peddler's certificate.
Although I do have 1,000 of them, if anyone's interested. I don't, but yeah, I mean, the peddler's certificate is something that expires after a year. You have to renew it. I did have one for 15 years, but yeah, I mean, I don't really need it at the moment because I'm doing the videos.
Right. I was just curious about that. And how did you end up on the TV show Blind Date? And the follow-up to that is, why didn't she pick you? You were so funny and charming. I found a link to this gem on another one of Julian's websites, julianmcdonnell.com. I guess you could call it the British equivalent of The Dating Game. In it, Julian is a bit younger, donning a very 1990s outfit, topped off with a very interesting, distressed straw hat. And yes, he really is as tall as he says he is. Here's a soundbite from that episode.
Okay, third question. If I was Snow White and you were one of my 7 dwarfs, which one would you be? That question to number 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, sorry, I've got to say this is just ridiculous because I'm actually 6'6", so I couldn't possibly be a dwarf, and so I guess I just have to be your tall, dark, handsome Prince Charming. He's grown. I'd wake you up with a little kiss.
I'll leave a link to Julian's blind date clip in the episode notes.
Well, I can tell you that. Well, I ended up on it because I was at university in Manchester, and there was an ad. They put an ad up in the student union asking people to go for an audition. So I went to the audition because I wanted to be on TV. And why she didn't pick me was because even though I was funnier than the other two, and the crowd all wanted her to pick me, number one, I didn't show this in the clip, but one of her questions was, which of the 7 dwarves would you be? And he said that he would be, oh, unfortunately, there isn't a dwarf called Keanu because I look like Keanu Reeves. And as soon as he said he looked like Keanu Reeves, then she had made her mind.
He didn't even look like him. That's not true. But
he didn't really. No, I could see the resemblance, but I anyway. It doesn't matter. They ended up going to Cornwall, so which usually you pick an envelope and you go on a fun holiday somewhere. On the other half of the show, they went to New York, but these two picked Cornwall, which is just south of England. They felt very disappointed. It was always disappointing if you end up with an English holiday. They wanted to go to France, would you?
Yeah, sure. That's so funny. And so that was all just off the cuff. Everything you said on that was off the cuff.
Well, you do get the questions in advance. They give you.
Oh,
the,
you
they give
do?
you the question,
Okay.
then you can write something.
Okay.
That was 1994, though. I mean, it was quite a long time ago.
Yeah. Doesn't seem like that was so long ago to me, but that's because I'm getting time just is going by faster, but that's a whole other thing.
2004, yeah, what, yeah, that's 16 years ago. So 26 years ago. 26 years ago. But yes, it sounded quite interesting what you're doing, and always wanted to do a podcast of my own, actually. I just couldn't be bothered, can't get around to it. All these films take so long to make, you know.
Yeah, and from listening to you, they're a lot more involved. It takes me probably 2 or 3 days, depending. Like the last guy that I interviewed, he's kind of a stutterer, so I had to do a lot of.
Tricky to edit that sort of
But
thing.
you know, it was fun because you know you listen to the raw footage and then you listen to what you have and you just smooth it all out. I like it. I like doing the editing. It's fun. I don't think I would want to do film though because it's that whole other layer. You know, you might get good.
Exactly. You've got all the sound to do, plus you've got to get all the color right. I mean, it's difficult. I'm not very good at it, but I mean, you've got to get the color right. You have to wait till people are out of the way. I mean, you have to worry about what it looks like as well, and it's a real nuisance. You know, you worry about sort of continuity as well. You know,
So do you have a
if I shoot on 2 different days, I've got to make sure I'm wearing the same thing or shaved the right way, and it's quite a nuisance. I mean, I put all the time.
I think you do a great job. I think you do a good job. I think, you know, and I think one of the things that I can relate to about you is, you know, I don't want to deal with the gatekeepers. I want to do my thing, and I just want to put my art out there. I want to be entertaining. And I like that about you, and that really speaks to me, and that's why I was so drawn into your videos. I don't know. That's that.
Well, it's nice of you to say. I mean, the truth is that, I mean, I did originally start putting them up there because I wanted to use them as a show reel to show people that I can do this and hopefully get on TV. But now what seems to be happening is that more people are looking at things like YouTube anyway. So there's no point. I'm in a sense, I'm already on TV. You know, I'm on my own channel. I've got my own channel, and I can say what I want. I mean, I find sometimes, you know, it's a little bit worrying because YouTube do tend to have quite a lot of power over your videos. I mean, if they want, they can just take it all down. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah, it's nice having a direct connection with the audience. It's quite weird. I mean, I'm at an age where most people my age aren't really into YouTube and stuff like that. Not creating content. Most YouTubers are much younger than me. Yeah. So I think I'm more of a so I've somehow managed to creep in there just under the radar. But I'm also old enough to have a few skills in the old school kind of TV style. So I think that's why I'd have to say that a lot of the people who watch my stuff are of a more mature variety, let's say, on YouTube. They're not your typical kind of 21-year-old audience. So a lot of people like age 40 and above. And it's because they're used to watching TV in a certain way, where, you know, you just have someone speaking quite clearly and it's well edited. Whereas younger people are quite used to seeing these jump cuts, bad editing, people saying things like, "Hey, what's up, guys? So, now today, right, on YouTube, today I'm going to show you how to make an omelette. So thanks very much, everyone, for tuning in. And later on, I'm going to show you how to make an omelette. Okay, coming up in 5 minutes." And then you sit there tearing your hair out, going, well, are you ever going to get round to doing it? You know, but apparently that's quite a normal thing. Young people are used to that style of, you know, it's all about, can you keep watching me, and I find a lot of the time, a lot of videos also, they don't have necessarily enough to say to warrant the length of the video. But because YouTube, it's beneficial to you if your video is longer than 10 minutes, because it means you can put more ads on it. A lot of people try to stretch their video out. Now, if you haven't got a lot to say, and you want a 10-minute video, then it's going to be full of just like umming and ahhing and blabble. Whereas I usually find that I've got too much to say. I mean, it's actually quite difficult for me and all of my stuff is facts. It's always like over here is there, over there is that. If it's not either funny or interesting or relevant, then I'll edit it out. So actually, it's quite a hard job keeping them under. I mean, this latest one was 25 minutes. I mean, it was tough. I had loads more stuff I could have put in. I should make a whole feature length Juolz guide.
Yeah, I was thinking because on Facebook you put something out there about soliciting suggestions, I guess it was, and I was after
I wish I hadn't. Well, no, what happens is you get so many responses.
I know. I have to say I piped in, but you asked, so I piped in. That would be a fun one to do bloopers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Was that you who said that? Yeah.
Mine was more wordy and kind of rambling about going back to old footage and interviewing people through, the computer now. That might. Yeah. No, I remember that one. I was thinking of doing that because I've got a few people. I was thinking some guest appearances. I could do some guest appearances. I mean, I've got Charlie Chaplin's grandchildren. They might be up for it. And if they could get Charlie Chaplin's son, then that would be even more cool. Hell yeah! So, were you a Charlie Chaplin fan before that?
Not particularly. No.
I thought you were. I thought you worshipped him. We went out and got the book from the library that you were reading from.
Funnily enough, I was more of a Harold Lloyd fan. I liked Harold Lloyd. We used to watch him when I was growing up. And when I was young, I didn't quite get Charlie Chaplin because I found him a bit sad, and I never quite got the comedy or whatever. But as I got older, I realized his true genius, and he really was a genius, an absolute genius. And when you look, and when his grandson asked me if I could make a video about it, but he didn't ask that. He actually asked me if I could just show him around. And I said, well, I don't really know much about it. I'll have to find out about it. But I thought it was a cool opportunity. So I said to him, okay, why don't you just, to save yourself money, I said, I won't charge you if you just come and be in a film about him. And he said, yeah, all right, yeah, we'll do that. So I thought, bloody hell, I better go off and read up on him. So I got hold of his autobiography. Yeah. And it was the most incredible story I'd read. And I just thought he was fantastic. And then you see some of his films, some of the really iconic, famous scenes, and you realize just what a pioneer he was. It was so now I'm a massive. I couldn't stop thinking about him for ages afterwards.
Oh, I know. We went
similarities with my own life.
We went down a rabbit hole thanks to you, and that's kind of what this idea for this podcast is. It's like, oh, he did that was really interesting. Oh, the grandkids. But then we started really getting into the story, and it was like not even about you and your show anymore. We went out and bought the book. We talked about him for a week, and I was pissed. I'm still pissed off about how we treated him, the U.S. We're so horrible to him. And just
bad.
His whole story, and that's what I love, and that's where I'm coming from with this is I'm trying to capture that with people that are kind of like.
It wasn't only him, by all accounts, that they treated badly. I mean, there was quite a few people.
But
like I said in my latest video, actually, we've got the McCarthy witch hunts to thank for the fact that we've got a Shakespeare's Globe Theatre, because he was going to go back to.
I didn't know that.
They told him you better stay in England, so he went, all right, I'll stay in England, and then Sam Wanamaker we're talking about here. Sam Wanamaker, the actor, he was on their list, I think. Well, this is what someone told me. Bloke down the pub told me this. That's where I get my facts. And he was going to head back to America, but he stayed in England, and they said, okay, well, let's build the replica of Shakespeare's Globe Theatre.
I knew that he built it. I didn't realize. Was it on your London lockdown video? Because I didn't realize that until I saw that yesterday, and it was like, oh, that makes sense.
But you know what's interesting is you can do that. Say, for example, in this latest video, I walk along the river from Embankment all the way to London Bridge, and the whole time is spent talking about things which are there, examining them, looking at things. It's all, apart from a couple of comic moments with some pastiches of newsreel footage, it's all information and history. And it's just interesting that if you went along that same route with a different tour guide with someone else, they would tell you completely different stories, different histories, different facts. And that's what I like about wandering around London, is that you'll never run out of stuff to talk about, because I could do the same route and make a completely different. I've been to Soho several times, and so last time I went, there's Soho the music tour. I've done a music tour of Soho, all the famous places like where the Rolling Stones were formed and where David Bowie recorded, you know, Hunky Dory, and all these places are all around Soho. Then I went back there again and I did another video about the same location, but it was how the Italians were all connected to it, and the history of Italians in Soho. And you can do so many different perspectives on a certain place.
I know, there's so much material there. Is your mom from Italy?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, but you're close to it. That's why you speak Italian and.
Yeah, oh, that's what I was saying. Yeah. When you were going through the thing saying I speak Italian and French, well, I mean, I speak a bit of Italian, and I learnt French at school, so.
So you speak it. I know people are. Jeff Lipke's. I did his bio, which I got directly off of his website, and he was very like humble about it. Oh, well, that's not exactly right. It's like.
Well, yeah, I might just. If someone phones me up and starts rabbiting in French, I might struggle a bit.
Yeah, well, my mom was born in Belgium, and unfortunately, you know, she moved to the She married my dad in France. He was in the Air Force stationed in France, and I always say the only action he saw in the Korean War was my mother, because he married her and then came back to the United States. They used to speak French at the dinner table when they didn't want us to know what they were talking about, so they never taught us French, which I'm bummed about to this day. I don't have and then I'm really uncomfortable, like if you go to another country and you try to speak the language and you know that you're doing a terrible job, but I always hear my mother, because my mother was such a critic, and when you would try to speak French, she would, like, you know, correct you so much that it would be like, forget it.
I like it. I like it when people actually make the effort. English people tend not to even to try when they go abroad. They just point and speak in English loudly, point at things.
Yeah, like because
if the person doesn't understand, they just say it more loudly.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, yes. What's up? Now I'm gonna have to go in a minute.
Okay.
So anything else?
Thank you for your time. Is there? No, I don't have anything else. I would like to ask you. Is there anything else that you would like to say that we haven't covered?
No, not really. I mean, obviously, it would be nice if people who haven't seen my videos could go to Juolz Guides, the YouTube channel, spelt Joolz or Z, Juolz spelt like that, the wacky way. And you know, I should mention my sister as well. She writes a lot of the music for my videos.
Yeah.
Little Lost Lou. And she came out to Nashville and did an album out there as well. And she's really good. I mean, if you ask her to write a song in any style, she will just go away and do it. For example, I said to her for this one, I'd almost finished the video, and I thought to myself, oh God, I need to do wouldn't mind a song about the River Thames. So I called her and I said, can you write how long does it take you to write a song? So she,
so she just like made that up, and because I was going to ask you about that, I forgot. I didn't write it down.
She just wrote it like instantly, amazing. And then recorded it as well and sent it to me. And I nearly didn't put it in because I nearly didn't have time. But honestly, she's going to bring out an album soon. So of all the videos, songs from the videos, and we'll be able to sell that. But she's got ones about Jack the Ripper, Bethnal, the blind beggar of Bethnal Green.
And she really gives, she adds like this dimension, this unusual kind of quirky dimension to your videos.
She has a good ear for that sort of thing, you know, and they're usually in the right style. But what she should be doing is writing for TV ads or for films or something. But anyway, she's weird like me, so she ends up doing that. But anyway, her name's Little Lost Lou, Lil, Little Lost Lou. And then there's Tom Carradine's Cockney Sing Along, which is also good fun. And he does it online during the lockdown. He's doing an online Cockney Sing Along every Thursday. Normally plays every Thursday night in the pub here. But
what is his name? What's his name and how do you spell it?
Tom Carradine. And I think you just go to his website, which is carradinescockneysingalong.co.uk. Carradine, how many D's? I think it's double R, Carradine.
That was the other thing I wanted to tell you is that, so I'm working on the website, and I pretty much have it ready to go once I start having, the episodes and that. Each episode will have its own page. And so anything you want me to put on that page, maybe if you could let me use a picture of you would be great too. I'll put it on that page, and,
Sure. Just contact me when you need it or whatever you're doing.
Okay. Yeah.
All right back. Yeah. Okay. Well,
All right.
so we should do a bit of a tying up thing for you saying goodbye to me, and then we'll say goodbye to For Real.
Okay. Okay. Well, thanks. Thanks for being here today. And I don't know. I don't usually do a kind of send off thing. So
Yeah,
thanks,
you
Jules.
should do.
Yeah, I should, like tut tut tally ho.
I'm so
But not
embarrassed.
that.
I'm so embarrassed about that stupid catchphrase. People shout it at me in the street now. Pip pip tally ho. Oh my God, not again.
Pip pip tally
But,
ho.
it was a good idea. I mean, I think it's always good to have a little catchphrase. It's a bit of fun.
Well, I'm going to work on that. I'll come up with a send off. Julian, thank you for being here. Welcome.
Well, thanks very much. And I'll have to bid you farewell now. I've got to go and see a man about a dog.
Gotcha. All right. Thanks so much. It was really great talking to you.
See you then.
Okay. And that concludes my interview with Julian McDonnell. See the episode notes for links to Julian's website, as well as the amazing musicians that appear in his videos, Tom Carradine and Lil Lost Lou. Don't go away, we still have our Kid Wisdom segment coming up. Today we continue our conversation with 9-year-old Liam from Denver, Colorado. Where was the Titanic? Where did the Titanic leave from?
Well, I don't really know the exact location. I know where it was built. It was built in Belfast, Scotland, I think it was. It left from somewhere in the UK. I can't remember where.
Was it London? I looked it up on Wikipedia. It was actually Southampton, England.
No, it wasn't London. It was somewhere else.
Okay.
It actually had a few different stops before it set out on its longer voyage to New York City.
So it was going to New York City?
Yeah. Yes. So imagine this is where it set out from, and this is New York City. Just about here. It was very close.
So it was close to New York City.
It was pretty close. They couldn't see it.
So my other question is, we have something in common that we both like. Do you know what that is?
We both love history?
Well, we have more than one thing that we both like. So there's history, and then there is, remember when I went to England?
Oh yeah, we both kind of English stuff.
English stuff, especially double-decker buses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still have that phone booth keychain that you got me.
Oh, cool. What is it that you like about England and double-decker buses?
I don't know. It's just some of the best stuff was made there. Steam trains, for instance, the Titanic, and I don't really know why I like it too much. I was born and then I liked England.
You were born what?
I was born and then I liked England as soon as I was.
Something you like. Well, I really like your bow tie.
Thanks.
You have a great sense of style. It's a vintage aesthetic that you have going on there. So what about double-decker buses? What do you like about those?
Well, they look cool, and also I think it's pretty cool that you can make a bus that has 2 stories. And I like the old versions because I think the old versions look cool.
What do you know about England? The reason I'm asking you about England is because I know we both love England, but the other thing is that the show that I'm going to have you on, I interview a guy named Julian McDonnell, and he's from England, and he does a YouTube, he's a YouTube celebrity, and he does a show called Jules Guides, and he takes people around London. In the video, you should see if you could watch it with your mom and dad. So I want to have kind of a conversation at the end where you and I talk about England. So that's why I'm asking you about England.
I actually have this 3D puzzle about, with London. So I know a lot of the dates. I know a lot of the dates from like famous structures. The Tower of London is like one of the oldest buildings still standing in London. It was built in the 16th century or so. Tower of London. Oh, no, it was in the 11th century. Tower of London, 1078.
That was a long time ago, wasn't it? Have you been to London?
No, but I'm hoping to go there. I actually want to live there when I grow up.
Yeah, I lived there. I lived there for 3 months in 2012. And I've actually been to the Tower of London. And one of the reasons you might have gotten it mixed up as far as what date it was built is because they kept adding on to it during different centuries. So there were probably parts of it that were built in the 16th century.
And I was actually thinking of Westminster Abbey when I said like 15.
Oh, is that when that was built?
No, it was 1517, but like it's kind of around there.
Well, that is the 16th century. Yeah.
Guess what I heard? So, you know Big Ben in like Parliament. The tower, only the clock is called Big Ben. The tower is actually called Victoria Tower.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Named after Queen Victoria, probably.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So what is the Tower of London?
The tower. Well, I think back when it was first built, it was a prison, actually. For some
It was
reason.
also a castle where people lived, right?
Maybe, I can't remember.
It was actually, I'll tell you what I know about it. It was built as a castle back in the 1000s, and then eventually it became also a prison, but not just a prison for anybody. It was like high-class prisoners, like people that were royalty and traders and, people that, were high up there. So it was like a posh prison.
And most people think of London Bridge, they think of actually Tower Bridge. London Bridge was built much earlier. Tower Bridge was built in the 19th century. London Bridge was built in the 17th century. And actually, if you ever visited the Globe Theater, that's not where it originally was. It burnt down in 1666 and was built in 1644.
What happened in 1666 that caused it to burn down?
Well, it was a wooden building, and it was actually built in 1599. It was a wooden building, or I think like at least part timber. Fires were more common because more buildings were wooden back then.
And in 1666, there was a huge fire in London that destroyed most of London.
On this, it says Great Fire of London.
Yep.
That's when it burnt down. Well, fires spreaded pretty quickly back then because most buildings were at least half timbered, if not made of stone or door or that kind of material. On my 3D puzzle, I'm building up to about 1920, 1925. That's the buildings that I'm going to have on my puzzle. They're going to be Tower of London, Westminster Abbey, the Globe Theater from 1599 to 1666, and then the St. Paul's Cathedral, Buckingham Palace. Buckingham Palace was built pretty early, 1702.
Oh, wow. Who lives at Buckingham Palace?
Queen Elizabeth II. She's the current queen.
You know a lot about London. I'm impressed. You should definitely watch Jules because he takes you all through these different places in London and he knows all the history. He's a big history geek like us. He always says at the beginning of his show, you know what he says? He says, oh, how does he go? Pip, pip, tally ho.
I think that's what most Americans think British people talk like. That's like the American kind of version. Yeah, I don't think they say that.
No, he was just creating a character for this show. And that's not really what he's like, but it's what his character on the show is like. All right, so that was pretty much all the questions I have. I have one more, and that is there anything else that we didn't talk about that you wanted to talk about today?
No, I think we covered everything.
So yeah, I guess that was great. You did a great job. Thank you so much for doing this.
And stay safe.
You stay safe. Yeah, you too. All right, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye. So there you have it. That was Liam, 9 years old, from Denver, Colorado. Join us next time for a brand new episode of Armchair Historians. Stay up to date with our latest news on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And won't you please consider becoming a patron through Patreon?